Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and yesterday, on a Thursday for some reason, was the last national final of the Big Five, getting them all done relatively early, although then again it is the end of February, so maybe not. But anyway, I can only of course be talking about Germany, who for once had a really straightforward national final, which for any other country would be completely normal, but for Germany, Unser Lied for Lissabon is a huge, well, I'm not going to spoil how I feel about that relative to their other national finals, but trust me, it's very different for Germany, it's very straightforward. It was won by Michael Schulte, not Michael Schulte, and he completely walked the voting, by the way, and deservedly so, but we'll get onto that. Anyway, yes, Michael Schulte and the song You Let Me Walk Alone, which is presented in English, music and lyrics by Michael himself, plus Thomas Sterngard, Nissa Ingvarsson, and Nina Müller. Now, some of those names might sound a little bit Scandinavian. That's because Michael grew up in and lives in a town that's very close to the Danish border in northern Germany, and my mother was surprised to learn that, yes, Denmark does have some mainland stuff, it's not all islands, and yes, they share a border with Germany, as this little family of songwriters sort of proves. Anyway, first impressions of this song then. Well, it was the sixth song in a lineup of 6 in the national final, and the other 5 really had not made much of a connection with me up to that point, so I was really holding out hope that the last song in the lineup would buck that trend, and I didn't hope in vain. Sure enough, this song is beautiful, it's emotive, it's sincere, it's tragic in a way. And I do speak a fair amount of German, so I was already aware going into it from the postcard that the whole thing was written in memory of Michael's late father. Though from the lyrics, that's fairly obvious anyway, or so I'd like to think. That said, I do have 2 minor nitpicks with the song. One, he keeps mentioning his loving mom in the chorus, but then in the second verse he mentions how his father is his childhood hero and no one could ever come close. Like, okay, rude. Or is that too callous of me to bring that up? Because I don't want to be rude here, but it's no big deal. And the other thing is, I feel as though the last 2 lines of the refrain, you know, the whole, but you will never know because you let me walk this road alone, that almost sounds like confrontational, like he resents his father for dying, but that's absolutely not his intention, or so I understand it. The whole thing is supposed to be, look, he grew up taking his father's advice and lived on in honor of his memory, even though he's not there to see it happen. And yet just those 2 lines sound like he's like, oh, well, you left me to do it by myself, well, look how far I got without you. And that's not what he's trying to say at all. It just sounds a bit... whatever. I'm probably reading too much into it. In any case, let's crack on with what you might like about this song. Right, the big, central, neon, light-up Tannenbaum thing with this song is that it's a genuine story told through a genuine song, delivered in a genuine way with genuine emotions. Like, I was fully expecting Michael to start crying when doing his winner's reprise, and I know at least one person in my personal life who would probably also cry when listening to this song. It's that emotive. And in all bluntness, I can't say I blame them. This is a really beautiful, really touching, really well-executed tribute to a loved one, and Michael conveys that perfectly. Of course, what helps with that is that his vocals live are absolutely on point. I cannot fault him. Even with what I'm sure are rushing and compelling emotions running through him as he sings, and as he remembers his father and as he tells his story, his voice never cracks, it never shakes. He hits all the notes with just the right amount of power without compromising on the intimacy of the performance. As live performers go, he's a force to be reckoned with for sure. Backing him up on that front, the composition of the music too is at just the right amount of intensity. It underscores the narrative with just the right amount of power and to just the right level of mood without being over the top or under the bottom and unengagingly dull. Either way, it doesn't undermine the song's message and purpose. Similarly, the lyrics aren't contrived in the least. It makes them feel all the more sincere because they're not just cliches. And so that gives the whole performance so much more credibility in and of itself. Put all that together, and you end up with quite the compelling package, to be quite honest. Great work on choosing it, Germany, and especially on having it completely sweep the national final with maximum possible scores across both of the 2 juries and the public. Bravo! Of course, you shouldn't feel compelled to like this song, even for all the technical stuff that it does do well. In fact, amongst other things, you might not like the meta-atmosphere that songs like these set up for themselves. That is to say, if you say that you don't like this song, then the automatic assumption is that you're callous and uncaring and crass, because how could you hate such a precious and emotional message? But the truth is, it is possible to approve of a message or to enjoy a narrative without enjoying its delivery. and I sincerely hope that the fandom recognises that. If you're afraid to dislike this, or any song for that matter, because of the poignancy of its message, don't be. Don't feel bullied out of your right to an opinion. For instance, you might not be a fan of the composition. Yes, it does everything I said about backing up the message of the song without over or underselling it, but if this sort of thing isn't to your taste, then that just can't be helped by anyone other than yourself, and if you don't want it to be helped, that's your prerogative. You don't have to like it. Truth is, it's a relatively stripped back, simple, intimate piano ballad where vocals take precedence above all else. There isn't much to it beyond that. In fact, that's actually a rather similar setup to Spain in that regard. If you don't have any particular interest in investing yourself in the story of the song, in this case Michael's relationship with his father, then there really isn't anything else in the song to catch you. Everything serves to feed back to that central web of emotions and whatnot, so if that's of no interest to you, then the instrumentation won't be either because of its explicitness in complementing the message. The performance won't interest you because it highlights the simplicity of the song. The composition won't interest you because it's just there to be a foil to the lyrics. So if you don't want to care, then you may as well overlook the entire song, which is a bit of a shame, but if that's what you want to do, then so be it. Now though, how does this one stack up on the Tess scale of arbitrary numbers? Well, after some deliberation, I think I'll award this one a personal score of 9. If it catches me in the right mood, this one could well hit me right in the feels. And I'm sure that feeling would be even more intense if I related directly to the story. As it stands, I can only offer sympathy, which is fortunate for my father, I guess, because he is still alive. In any case, there is a screaming, bratty baby somewhere in my brain that demands that the song isn't as engaging as it could be, and between those grounds and the idea that you'd need to be in the right state of mind to fully appreciate the beauty at play here, I'm sticking by that 9. But it is a very strong 9 to its credit. It's a 9 so strong, in fact, that I'd say this earns a technical score of 9 as well. Why? Well, basically everything I said in the you might like section of this review. There's a delicate but optimal balance of emotion, composition and delivery that all comes together to present a really touching tribute to Michael's father that doesn't come across as just trying to capitalize on a tragedy. The only thing that stays my hand from giving it a perfect 10 is that worry that without the right staging especially, it might not convince enough people to make that initial investment so that they'll fully appreciate the song. I guess they could bring the projector laptop mousetrap thing from Unser Lied für Lissabon, but they should play it carefully. After all, you wouldn't want a performance as delicate as this to come across as gimmicky now, would you? In any case, is this a positive move for Germany? In not so many words, hell to the yes! It's not a massive advancement, mind you, but it is still a strong positive move, because this year's national final, as I was saying earlier, was the least complicated it's been for a very long time. I mean, sure, 2016 consisted of, 10 songs followed by a 3-song superfinal, but this, for once, was just a straight, here's 6 songs, whichever one gets the highest score wins. I mean, yeah, there were 2 juries involved rather than the standard 1 plus the public, but, yeah. In this case, it demonstrates that less really is more. In some national finals anyway, it doesn't always apply, but in this case it does. There's no confusing element of, oh, if your first song is good enough, people might be able to vote for your second. And there's no, we have 42 different artists, but only 2 actual songs, so by the time we pick a song, you'll be really sick of it no matter what we choose. None of that. My only point of hesitation is that, apart from Michael, the other songs were relatively weak, I'm sorry to say. Or at least they didn't stick out all that much, so I can only wonder, out of 4,000 candidates, with this 6, were they really the creme de la creme, or was the broadcaster just playing it overly safe? Well, no damage done in the end, a very competent song ended up winning. And an extra thought that I just want to tack on to the end here, credit to the German broadcaster for actually, giving out tickets to Eurovision for free as an incentive just to vote. I think more countries should do that, so Germany, you've got the right idea. Good for you. That said though, would this qualify if it had to take part in the semi-finals? Of course, Germany, Big 5 member, auto-qualifies. But yeah, competence is one thing, but if Germany weren't an auto-qualifier, I'd want to say quite possibly it could still qualify, but there is room for doubt. Simply put, on a good day, the raw emotions playing against its delicate simplicity could well make the right connection with the audience and convey all the right emotions without coming across as being an emotionally blackmailing performance, or whatever. Thus, it could qualify easily, if it needed to. Of course it doesn't. Conversely, on a bad day, it might get swallowed up by bigger, louder, glitzier songs, or it might just get lost in a sea of equally emotional songs with equally sincere and equally meaningful messages. when it comes to their results in the final, the power currently rests in Germany's hands. The running order, I think, will play a big role in how the public receive this one, so the staging and the live delivery will need to be on point. But I have faith that Michael can make a lot of that happen. So for now, I have been and will continue to be Tessellating Hexagons, and Germany, I wish you the very best of luck, and we'll see what happens when you make it to Lisbon. See you in May.